Hey everybody, Jonathan here, and today we're going to be going over a carriage kneeling newspaper or rotator cuff. This is an upper body exercise and it's performed on 2 to 3 white springs. 2 is lighter than 3 and 3 is heavier than 2. And if you wanted to go heavier, you can always go to 4 white springs. Start by kneeling on the carriage, pick up those short hard handles, and what we're going to have to do is either cross the right cable over the left or cross the left cable over the right. Now, a lot of people are going to get this confused because some people will do this and then they'll just keep their arms crossed. So the best way that I've found to cue this is I would say, grab the short hard cables and then I want you to cross the cables like an X, then re-hold the cable once it's crossed. Once we're in this position, there are 2 ways that we can teach this newspaper. I prefer palms up and thumbs out, like we're hitchhiking. The other way is palms in and knuckles out, like you're literally holding a newspaper to open it. Kneel on the carriage at the middle, carefully come up, glue our elbows to our ribs with our palms in, knuckles facing out, and then I want you to open the newspaper as far as you can. Keeping the elbows glued into the ribs, we breathe in as we close the newspaper, and then we exhale as we open the newspaper, squeezing our shoulder blades together. The reason why I don't like to teach it this way is because the wrist should stay still the entire time. What people will start to do when they open up the newspaper is their wrist will start to turn in and out. And this isn't good. They need to keep it still. I find that most people don't know how to control their wrist. So by having the palms up and the thumbs out, they don't need to worry about the wrist, and it helps them keep their elbows glued to their ribs a little bit more. A few things that I see incorrectly, and I'll show you from this side angle, is as they open their newspaper, their elbows start to detach from their rib cage. And this is an indication to me that it's too heavy, or they just aren't listening and they don't know. So it's very important to cue. Keep the elbows glued to the ribs or the side of the waist. And if you cannot keep it glued, it's too heavy. So how do we modify? Without changing the springs, we can modify by holding the long black straps instead of the short hard handles. Another way to modify is scooting forward, making it lighter. Now, how could we make it heavier? You could hold the rings located towards the end with our pointing and middle finger, and this would make it a little bit heavier. Another thing that you can do is scoot back further away from where the cables are, and that will also make it heavier. Another way to also modify is to sit down on your heel. But remember that when we sit down, less core, because when we're up on our knees, we're trying not to fly forward off the carriage. Another thing that I see people do incorrectly is when they're opening the newspaper, they'll also lean back like this. So we just have to make sure everyone's upright, cue everybody to engage their core. It's not just about the upper body, it's also about keeping the core engaged. We're already engaging it by not flying forward, but we really want to scoop the belly button up and in. And this is a carriage kneeling newspaper or rotator cuff.